Gledaocima televizije Bosne i Hercegovine pozdrav iz ureda jednog od najprominentnijih političara u Americi 20. stoljeća. Naš gost je bivši američki senator Bob Dole, kojeg mnogi vjerujem pamte kao velikog borca za bosansku stvar. Amerikanci će ga pamtiti po mnogo čemu, historičari pak po nenadmošnoj sposobnosti u umješnosti zvanoj politika i umješnosti preživljavanja u politici. Bob Dole potiče iz siromašne porodice iz gradića Russell u Kansasu. Zna šta je imati i ne imati, zna šta je rat, patnja i nedosanjani snovi.
Odrastajući u to vrijeme u Americi, u jednom gradiću, ako ste bili odgajani pod ispravnim uticajem dobrih ljudi koji su brinuli i o vama, koji vam govore da ste napravili dobar posao, vjerovatno biste postali veoma dobar mladić ili djevojka. Bez obzira da li ste iz kakvog gradića, grada ili predgrađa, mislim da će ljudi vršiti pritisak na vas dok rastete, vaši roditelji, vaša porodica. Na prvom mjestu morate imati posao i uvijek govoriti istinu. Član naše porodice u kući je govorio da ako niste rekli istinu, mama bi uzela sapun i kaznila nas. On se dobro sjeća kada su mu usta bila puna sapuna. Moja mama je šila odjeću za moje sestre i za nas. Ja sam uvijek dobivao najbolju odjeću, jer sam bio najstariji. Ali bili smo siromašni, naš ekonomski standard bio je loš. Naši roditelji nisu završili srednju školu, ali su bili dobri ljudi. Bob je uvijek govorio da je mnogo naučio radeći u radnji, ali mislim da je on dosta toga naučio od svog oca. Kada je Bob Dole bio u srednjoj školi, na trkama je postavio rekord koji je držao nekoliko godina. Igrao je košarku i nogomet i bio je veoma dobar. Zatim, nakon rata, Bob je bio teško ranjen. Sjećam se, kući su ga donijeli na nosilima i dugo je vremena moralo proći da bi opet prohodao. Vjerovatno je najgore bilo poslije Drugog svjetskog rata, kada sam ponovo stao na svoje noge. Mnogo sam vremena proveo kod kuće, u bolnici i dvorištu, vježbajući da povratim snagu i radeći mnoge druge stvari. Tako sam vraćao snagu. Život je ponekad kompromis. Ne možete imati sve što želite, ne možete uraditi sve što želite, ne možete postići sve što želite. Ponekad morate davati u životu, nije sve samo uzimanje, morate vraćati ljudima.
Davao mi je veliku podršku u karijeri, ohrabrio me da nastavim. Bob zna da cijeni ženu i njene potencijale.
Ona ima primjedbe na ono što ja radim, kako radim. I ja imam sugestija u njenom radu. Ja nemam toliko koliko ona ima za mene.
Što se tiče karijere Boba Dola, uglavnom se bavio domaćim pitanjima, ali se za neka vanjsko-politička kao što je bosansko znao zalagati sa ništa manje predanosti. Jedan je od najdosljednijih zagovornika ukidanja embarga na oružje i prava žrtvi na odbranu. Zalažući se za okončanje bosanske tragedije, pokazao je sposobnost da prevaziđe vremenske zone, zanemari okeane, prebrodi partijske razlike. Dole vjeruje da ljubav i sjećanje ne mogu biti uništeni vremenom. Predsjednik je komisije za lica nestala u ratu u bivšoj Jugoslaviji. Dužnost je preuzeo 1997. s nadom da ako ne može vratiti mrtve, može pomoći pomirenju preživjelih. 1996. kada je u trci za Bijelu kuću izgubio od sadašnjeg predsjednika Clintona, saopćio je da se povlači iz politike. Ipak na glasačkim listićima 2000. sasvim izvjesno ponovo će biti prezime Dole. Ovaj put kandidat za Bijelu kuću biće Elizabeth Dole, njegova supruga. Istina po svaku cijenu bio je moto Dolove predsjedničke kampanje 1996. Evo kakvim je želio da ga vide Amerikanci. Uprkos Dolovoj nadi, Amerikanci su izabrali Clintona. U analizama koje su slijedile, uglavnom se tvrdilo da je loša kampanja bila presudna za Dolov poraz. Ipak, teško je uistinu odgonetiti šta se dešavalo. Mnoga pitanja na temu šta je moglo biti poduzeto da se spriječi rat u Bosni ili ranije zaustavi, također će ostati neodgovorena. Ipak, na neka odgovore dobijamo iz prve ruke u razgovoru sa senatorom Bobom Dolom. Senator Dole.
Nice to see you. What do you want me?
Very pleased to meet
right
you,
here?
if you don't mind, sir.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Senator? Looking fine.
Let's see who's going to hook this up.
Senator Dole, for some people in Bosnia since the wartime, you have been like a member of their family. Your words for them were more than hope, and certainly they are grateful to you. But Senator, Bosnians don't know much about what was really happening here in Washington, what kind of different war of persuasion Senator Dole was fighting, and what kind of man that lonely fighter was. I thank you for this great opportunity to convey a message to all people in Bosnia and the possibility to reveal some details about past time and, of course, about yourself. For beginners, what are you doing nowadays? What kind of office is this?
Well, I'm in a law office right now, but I do a lot of other things. And one thing I do is chair an international commission on missing persons, where we're still looking for 20 to 30,000 missing in Bosnia, some in Serbia, some in Croatia. And I've been over there, I don't know, 8, 10 times the past year and a half. Haven't been to Sarajevo recently, but I've been also very active in Kosovo, trying to be helpful to the Kosovars. So we do that plus a number of other things, but I still think, I remember meeting Mr. Slajic years ago in my Senate office, and he, in effect, told me that what was going to happen. He spelled it out almost like it happened, and nobody would listen, or a few of us would listen. The administration didn't listen, but there were some of us in the Congress, and Republicans and Democrats, myself and Senator Lieberman, particularly in the Senate, who understood that if we didn't do something, lift the arms embargo, let the Bosnians defend themselves, all these bad things would happen, and they all happened.
To those who analyze Bob Dole, they say that you bear profound scars of your childhood poverty and wartime experience. Some people think that you have that deepest compassion for the weak and the helpless since a long time ago you were one. Does that help you to understand Bosnians who once suffered in their solitude?
I think probably it does. I mean, I think obviously when you saw what Milosevic was doing way back in the early 90s, I mean, preparing, and it was President Bush who didn't do much. Then it was President Clinton who didn't do much. And it wasn't until we had 69 out of 100 senators on our side that the Clinton administration changed its policy. But the suffering, I mean, every day, and the misery and the cold and lack of food, lack of fuel, certainly has an impact, certainly on me and I think most Americans, even though many probably didn't know where Bosnia was or Sarajevo was. Well, they might have known about Sarajevo because of the Olympics, but
You've been involved since early 90s. Everyone remembers your assertiveness about Bosnia pushing to lift the arms embargo on July 26, 1995. The Senate passed resolution, but it had lots of preconditions. The impression was that you got cold feet, probably afraid of sole responsibility for what would have happened if the embargo was lifted and weapons were not yet in Bosnia. Would you comment on that?
Oh, I know. I think we were pretty. We felt very strongly about the need to do that. I mean, it was, we knew we were fighting the administration. We knew, but many of my colleagues, and they were Democrats as well as Republicans. I mean, this was bipartisan. 69 senators out of 100 saying, let's lift the arms embargo. Now, we knew that, obviously, that some arms were getting through in any event. We understood that there are ways to get arms to Bosnia. But our view was that that was a basic human right. It's in the UN Charter, right to defend yourself. And you're talking about people's lives and their families and the right to defend their homes. And they didn't have that right. It didn't make any sense to me it doesn't make any sense to anyone. I don't care whether you're Bosnian, Serb, whatever. I mean, you ought to have a right to defend your home and your family.
In summary, then, the impression was that you have been much more ready to intervene in the Bosnian tragedy. Senator Dole, as you may remember, candidate Clinton also used that kind of rhetoric. But when he became the president, he had a lot of excuses not to do anything. Do you believe that if you were the president, you would have intervened earlier and Bosnia would have been a different place?
Oh, I think so. I think it's not, we wouldn't have had to intervene had we lifted the arms embargo. That was our argument. Why not let people defend themselves? They're not asking for U.S. troops. They're asking for weapons, a right to fight for themselves, fight for their lives. And that was the argument I made and the argument that Senator Lieberman, a Democrat, made. And finally, you know, we had 40 votes, 45 votes, 50 votes. You finally get up to 69 votes. But neither the Clinton administration nor the Bush administration, in my view, did the right thing.
On the other hand, Senator, you supported President on sending troops.
Right.
The most unpopular measure.
And when I was running for president, too, and it was not a very popular thing to do, but it seemed to me that once the commander-in-chief, the president, makes that decision, that's the decision. And whether you're running against him for office or whatever, you support it.
That was something that I was the most impressed, even though it was, let's say, your political enemy. You, at that time, took his side. But you said we had better options. You said at that time many better options. You were quoted saying, what options?
Well, we frittered away those better options. That's lifting the embargo and more direct assistance. We were playing games, and we, you know, there's not only Milosevic, but you've got Tudjman to be concerned about too, Croatia, and you know, I've visited both Milosevic and Tudjman and Izetbegovic. And I hope that, you know, now that, well, of course, the Dayton Accord stopped the fighting. That's about all. There've been not many good developments since, but, you know, I think there's still a hope. We look for more democracy, less corruption if there is corruption, opening up Sarajevo. So, you know, I think Izetbegovic makes a mistake when he doesn't let Serbs return to Sarajevo. How are you going to open up the city if the Bosnians leadership won't open up the city? How do you get others to cooperate? And we know that it was all caused initially by Milosevic, and we know what a dark hole the Republic of Srpska is, and we ought to be out there arresting Karadzic and other war criminals. So there's a lot to be done, and I'm afraid that the American people and the others who support Bosnia are going to lose interest unless there are some changes.
Bosnia is peaceful, but peace is fragile, and
very fragile, yes.
I would like to ask you something else. Richard Holbrooke just got back from the Balkans, and he says that Muslims can't go to Republika Srpska, and probably Izetbegovic would say that it is hard to push people from Sarajevo because they don't have place to go. And that's almost like catch-22.
Right.
What is your overall impression on Izetbegovic and Bosnian politicians, and on the other hand, Tudjman and Milosevic?
Well, there's not much comparison. I mean, obviously, Milosevic was the aggressor. No question about it. He sent signals over a decade ago in Kosovo when he disbanded their legislature and did all the things that he did. And that was a signal that Salagic and others immediately understood. They knew this was the beginning, the breakup of Yugoslavia. And instead of a rotating presidency, Milosevic wanted it all, the greater Serbia, whatever. So I think Izetbegovic is, obviously you can't compare him with Milosevic. I like the president. I hope he'd be more forthcoming. I mean, I think he has an opportunity to exert real leadership. If he made some bold moves and stood up for democracy, liberty, anti-corruption, he would, I think, provide the leadership needed to solve these problems.
Can we talk about Clinton's doctrine, or this was just by accident that American administration under Clinton did the thing in Bosnia in...
I think he did it because we're getting enough votes to lift the arms embargo. I think that's when he changed his policy after the United States Senate voted 69 to 20-some to lift the embargo, which we thought made a lot of sense. And I remember visiting with Prime Minister Major in London, trying to convince him, because the British didn't want to lift the embargo. And I think they were very close allies and always have been. But we went through this long period with NATO and the United Nations and the so-called dual key approach that nobody ever understood. And, you know, I think the most we ever did was knock out a truck or something. And we were, in effect, in the way. You know, the NATO forces were in the way. The UN forces were in the way. We weren't providing any protection to Bosnia. But having said that, I did agree with President Clinton. I think the troops are there. They ought to continue to be there for a time, but not forever, of course.
Senator Dole, I would like to ask you about your character, if you don't mind. The press was not gentle on you most of the time. What is the greatest misconception about you?
Well, the press in America tends to be very liberal. And I think 9 out of 10 people who cover Congress are Democrats. They vote for Democrats. So you start off at a disadvantage. But I have a good relationship generally with the press. I mean, I keep my word. I return my calls. I've always been, I think, fair with the press, been accessible. But let's face it, they have different philosophies, and a lot of things I did probably deserved criticism. But it's a known fact in America, the media tends to be liberal and democratic.
Americans would say that they would be proud of you, even though it's kind of hard for you to talk about that time, I believe. But who among politicians was the most influential?
Eisenhower.
Oh, yeah?
Eisenhower is my hero. I mean, in World War II, he was our commander. And, of course, he lived in Kansas, my same place I'm from. And he sort of brought me into the Republican Party. I mean, I didn't know whether I was a Democrat or Republican. But he was, I think, somebody you could trust. I think he had that sort of, people in the military have sort of an attraction to people in America, maybe the same in Bosnia, the leaders in the military. But in addition to that, he was, I think, a good president. I've read about everything I could read about Eisenhower, but the bottom line is you could trust him. You could trust him, and character was important, and accountability and honesty and hard work. And that's what people like wherever you live, whether you live here, whether you live in Bosnia, whether you live somewhere else.
And now it's time to talk about your better half. Is she your everything? I mean, if politics is your life, is it fair to say that your wife, Elizabeth Dole, is beyond that?
Oh, no question about it. In fact, one reason I was late, I was talking to Elizabeth. We were talking about her campaign and about some things she's going to be doing this next week. And talk about somebody with faith and commitment and discipline. I mean, she's got it.
You believe in women. Your longtime chief of staff was Sheila Berg, your speechwriter, Mary Will, your assistant for the Balkans, as a matter of fact.
Mary Barata, yes.
She's a Croatian American.
The first Secretary of the Senate I appointed was a woman. And because my view is it shouldn't be based on gender, ethnicity, color. It ought to be based on your skills.
But Senator, it is not the rule. Women still face the so-called glass ceiling. What chances has Elizabeth Dole compared to the dominant male contenders?
Well, she runs second in all the polls, and except, you know, George Bush has raised a ton of money, a lot of money, and has got a lot of press. There was a piece in the Washington Post just this week. Why didn't more press about Elizabeth? Why isn't there more coverage of this qualified woman? Well, I think it's because she's a Republican woman. If she were a Democratic, liberal woman, she gets lots of press coverage. But not having said that, I think the press is attracted to Elizabeth, regardless of their philosophy. I'm kidding there, but she's out there working every day. Well, I know she's working today. Supposed to be in Boston today, but she got rained out. So, you know, one day can be a lifetime in politics. I mean, you may be on the top of the world today, and tomorrow they say, "Who was that guy?" You know, he's
Senator,
gone.
failure is not something people normally feel comfortable talking about in any culture, especially here in America. You ran 3 times for president, and now you are totally aware that you can be up and you can be down. But
More fun being up.
you are not offended or afraid of facing defeat. In hindsight, what went wrong? What would be your best advice to Elizabeth?
Well, wasn't wrong in our campaign, and maybe I wasn't the best candidate. I think I did a pretty good job, but we didn't have the money. And we had a fellow named Steve Forbes who spent millions beating me up in the primary, and President Clinton didn't have an opponent. So we had lots of money, and the unions had a lot of money, and apparently the Chinese had a lot of money, and that all came at me too. So I don't know. I mean, I think the economy was good, and President Clinton is very good on television. He'll tell you anything you want to hear, and anything the polls say is popular. But I think when people look back on it, they'll say, well, you know, maybe I should have voted for Bob Dole. Maybe character is important, and trust. But when I lost, I accepted it. It's my responsibility. I haven't spent my 3 years out criticizing President Clinton. You got to move on with your life. You know, I think I learned that in World War II when I was hospital for 3 years, that you can't say, well, it's over, why me? And
Having in mind that you're chairing a commission on missing persons, sir, you are the last hope for some people in my country. Do you believe that your commission can do certain things, having in mind that it's so hard with the different parties, with different politicians over there?
We made quite a bit of progress, but it's very, very difficult. It's going to take a long time, and I know I've met with the mothers, and most of them are peasant people, whether in Serbia, or Croatia, or Bosnia. And most people, of course, are missing are Bosniaks. And it's very emotional, because I think because we're Americans, we can find their sons and they're going to be alive. And there's very little hope of that. But we do owe it to the families, just as we owed it to the families in Vietnam, American families, so they can bring closure, so they can say, my son is gone, I'm sure this is my son, or sons. I mean, there's some people who lost 2, 3, 4, 5 children.
Talking about leadership, we still have Milosevic in power, even though some people think that this is the closest moment that Milosevic and Tudjman are leaving. What is your best prediction? Balkans in 2004.
I think there'll be new leaders in Croatia and Serbia, maybe Bosnia too. Izbegovic is what, how old is he? 70?
Close to your age, I
Yeah.
think, 70.
And apparently he's in pretty good health. Tudjman has not been well. Milosevic is the youngest of the 3.
But he's indicted war criminal.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they call a taxi and take him to The Hague. That's what they should do.
Senator, you've been in Bosnia many times. Are you going to Sarajevo or to other parts of my country anytime soon?
I'm not certain of the date, but it'll be fairly soon. I need to go back and meet with the president and meet with Mr. Salajic again and others. And what we're trying to do is to transform this commission into a missing persons institute, so it'll have some permanency, so it's going to be there, and we'll be able to continue the work. And we need to get funding from other countries, including the United States. So we're not quite finished with our assignment. So I'll be going back and hopefully meeting not just with people in Sarajevo, but the mothers who live outside Sarajevo. We always try to meet with the mothers, and they always tell us their story. I think it's maybe therapy. I think it makes them feel like somebody cares. And I must say, in Serbia, when the mothers asked me to ask Milosevic if he would come and meet with them, I mean, he'd never even met with the mothers of the Serbs who were killed, which says a lot about him. It shows you how bad he is. So I asked him, and he said he would, but he never has. to me, that's inexcusable. But don't give up hope. I just say to the people watching, I mean, you've got a lot of friends in the United States and around the world, and as long as you're making an effort to make things better, I think that support will continue.
So, Senator, I thank you very much.
Thank
and
you.
see
Good
you
luck.
soon in Sarajevo.